Welcome to today's explainer. You know, if you've been practicing your Spanish, you probably already have the basics down, numbers 1 through 100. But today, we are totally smashing through that ceiling. We're scaling way up, moving from 200 to over 1,000. But right off the bat, before we even look at a single grammar rule or math formula, I've got to ask you a very important lifestyle question.
Quanto cuesta un yate?
How much does a yacht cost? Listen, if you want to live your absolute best luxury life in the Spanish-speaking world, or honestly, if you just want to rent a car, book a nice hotel, or buy some real estate, you need to know how to read, understand, and negotiate big price tags. You just can't afford to freeze up when the numbers get huge. So unlocking those big numbers is exactly what we're going to do today, using a really logical, visual system.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll crack the hundreds formula. Second, we'll tackle the spelling rebels. Third, we're scaling right up into the thousands. And fourth, we'll put it all together to ask, how much is it?
All right, let's jump straight into part one, the hundreds formula.
We're going to start with the building blocks from 200 to 500. And honestly, this acts like a super simple, incredibly reliable math equation. Once you see this pattern, you are never going to forget it. You simply take the root numbers you already know perfectly, dos for 2, tres for 3, or cuatro for 4. Then you literally just glue them directly to the word cientos, which just means hundreds. So what do you get? Dos plus cientos equals doscientos for 200. Tres plus cientos equals trescientos for 300. And cuatro plus cientos equals cuatrocientos for 400. It's so logical. You just snap the two words together like Lego bricks.
But you know language, you always got to stay on your toes. The number 500 is our very first rebel. If it followed the rules, sure, it would be cinco cientos. But no, it completely drops the cinco and becomes quinientos. Notice that spelling? Q-U-I-N-I-E-N-T-O-S. Quinientos. This is one of those words you just have to commit to memory, mostly because 500 comes up all the time when you're dealing with money.
Okay, the absolutely crucial point here is putting this into practice. Passive listening just isn't going to build those neural pathways you need to speak fluently. So, I want you to pause this explainer right now. Pick 3 of these numbers and actually try writing them out in Spanish before we move on. For example, how would you write 210? Well, you take your doscientos and just add your 10, diez. Doscientos diez. Pick a few, maybe 320, 540, or hey, challenge yourself with 476. Seriously, go ahead and try it.
Moving right along, let's dive into part 2, the spelling rebels.
Assuming you actually gave that a try, let's see how this builds as we venture into the 600 to 900 territory. This is where we meet a few more of those spelling rebels that need our attention. Now, what's really interesting here is how these numbers split perfectly down the middle. 6 and 8, they follow our previous formula perfectly. Take seis, add cientos, you get suseicientos. Take ocho, add cientos, you get ochocientos. Super easy. But look at 7 and 9. They actually shift their vowels. Siete drops the I and turns into sete, becoming setecientos. And nueve drops the U and the E to become nove, making it novecientos. Setecientos and novecientos. It actually makes them roll off the tongue a bit faster, but man, you really have to watch out for that spelling change.
So once again, test your scaffolding here by pausing the explainer and writing down 3 of these complex numbers, and pay special attention to those 700s and 900s. If you pick 760, remember that vowel shift to setecientos. If you pick 980, remember it's novecientos. Actually, writing these out by hand is hands down the best way to cement those rebellious spellings into your brain for good.
All right, part 3, scaling into the thousands.
Now that we have the hundreds completely locked down and we know exactly which numbers follow the rules and which ones like to rebel, it's time to drastically escalate the scale. We're jumping straight into the thousands. And to do this, we just need one new foundational block. Thankfully, it is incredibly short and easy to pronounce. Mil. M-I-L. That is the Spanish word for 1,000. Oh, and just a quick side note on punctuation here. In a lot of Spanish-speaking countries, they actually use a period where English speakers use a comma to separate thousands. It's just a handy little visual tip to keep in the back of your mind when you're reading prices.
The absolute beauty of this is that scaling up is incredibly easy. Unlike English, where we say thousands with an S at the end, in Spanish, mil doesn't change at all. You just take your basic numbers, 2 through 10, and drop the word mil right after them as a separate word. 2,000 is dos mil, 3,000 is tres mil, 4,000 is cuatro mil, and it goes right down the list.
5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, and 10,000 for 10,000. It is wonderfully, beautifully consistent.
Okay, folks, this is where the training wheels come off completely. I want you to pause the explainer one last time and see if you can piece together 4 of these massive numbers using absolutely everything we've just covered. Notice the punctuation again. Those periods indicate the thousands mark. Take a number like 65.320. You've got to figure out how to say 65, add mil, and then add 320. It's a fantastic brain workout, so definitely take your time with this.
Let's look at the absolute biggest beast on that list. If you manage to correctly write out a giant number like 924,424, let's see how you did. First, you take the 924,000 part. 900, there's our spelling rebel right there, 24,000. Then you add the second part, 424. Put the whole shebang together. 924,424. Listen, if you got that, or even got close to that, you are absolutely crushing this lesson. You officially know how to handle massive figures.
Which brings us perfectly to part 4. How much is it?
Finally, we reach the practical application phase. Because, let's be real, knowing these big numbers in a vacuum is great for a math test, but it's only truly useful if we can actually go out into the world, walk into a store, and buy things. To ask for a price, you simply need to master this core phrase, ¿cuánto cuesta? Literally translated, it means how much does it cost? Memorize this phrase, write it down. It is literally your golden ticket to buying anything from a quick cup of coffee to a luxury car.
Let's see it in action. Say you're out shopping, you see a nice coat, and you ask, ¿Cuánto cuesta una chaqueta? How much is a jacket? Well, the shopkeeper might reply that the jacket costs $100. Una chaqueta cuesta $100. Or they might just keep it casual and say $100. Now, because you know your hundreds, you aren't standing there guessing. You know exactly what they are asking for. I want you to think about the real world around you right now and practice this. Just look around the room you're in. Try answering how much a typical book costs. ¿Cuánto cuesta un libro? Start your answer with un libro cuesta and fill in the number. Or, hey, look down at your feet. How much did those shoes you're wearing cost? ¿Cuánto cuestan tus zapatos? Put a number to it in Spanish right now. It connects this abstract vocabulary directly to your real everyday life.
And now that you possess the vocabulary and the structural scaffolding to price out absolutely anything, from iPhones to airplanes and yes, all the way up to that yacht we talked about at the beginning, what luxury item are you going to ask about first on your next trip to the Spanish-speaking world? You have the tools, you have the numbers, now it's entirely up to you to start spending that imaginary money. So what's it going to be? Keep practicing those numbers and I'll catch you in the next one.